And welcome to the part 2 of the Casio tutorials. Today we're going to be learning about some new buttons in this section here, which is the rhythm section. Because we're going to be adding rhythm to our tone. In part 1 we covered basic navigation and we covered how to select tones. So now we're going to add rhythm to it, and we're going to go over the rhythm and some of the parts you need to set up before the rhythm. You need to decide which way you're going to play, and this depends on your experience level, or basically how you want to play this instrument as far as indicating what chord the accompaniment or the rhythm is supposed to follow with you. Okay, here we go, trying to explain this Casio chord. With Casio chord, we have 5 options. You have option 1, which is fingered 1, option 2, fingered 2, option 3, fingered 3, option 4, Casio chord, option 5, full keyboard. Now to access these options, there's this key here we've just explained. It's called, over it says accompaniment on off, and over that it says chords. If you hold this key down until the display changes, you'll see chords, and it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's 1 fingered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to full range. You got 5 options. Today we're going to group fingered 1, 2, and 3 together, because I can't even understand really what's going on between the 3. You know, I'm a keyboard player. If you want to play a chord, I play my chord. But these are abbreviated chords for beginners, so they can start playing a little faster. I don't quite understand the logic behind it, but I'll go through it anyway. So we'll start with fingered 1. And I'm going to pick a rhythm. And let's see, we're going to, how about change the tempo. I don't know if, I guess that one will work. It's got a chord in there and you can hear the chord changes. Now with fingered 1, it will be the left hand and below the split point. And then the right hand will be the tone. So let's change our tone by going to the navigation, moving the parentheses up, and I'm going to select just a grand piano tone. I'm going to bring parentheses back down to rhythm so that we're playing in the rhythm. And there's the split point. You can change that by holding the split button down and pressing the keyboard. So in fingered 1, your split point and you can see by this chord I already went over my split point, so it doesn't even recognize this 7th. So you have to play within the split point on this, on all but the full keyboard option. And with the accompaniment turned off, So, on fingered 1, I can just play one key and get a C major chord. So for a beginner, playing major chords is very easy. You just have to play the root note or the chord. So that would be a C, D, E, F. And to make it easier, you don't have to, you can play the minor key by just playing 2 notes. The minor key would normally be these 3 notes. But on this fingered 1, 2, 3, you can play the minor chord with just these 2, and that's the abbreviated point. I don't quite understand it, but if that works for you, fine. Okay, I'm going to hold down my chord button, accompaniment button, and we're going to move from fingered 1. You can use the scroll dial if you want, and we're going to move up to number 3, which is called Casio Chord. Now with Casio Chord, you can still play a single note for the major, but it's going to involve just these 4 keys right here, and it gives you a major, the minor chord, the major 7th chord, and a minor 7th chord. So you can play, and of course I'm playing in the root of C, you can play in D too. So normally this chord can be played with just this note. This chord can be played with just these notes. This chord can be played with just pressing these 3 keys down, and this chord can be played by just pressing these 4. So you have a C major, C minor, press these 3 down at the same time, you got C7, and then press these 4 keys down at the same time, you got a C minor 7th. So for a beginner, if that's easier, playing those 4 chords can be done with just pressing these 4 keys down instead of actually voicing out. Instead of actually voicing out the chords the way they're supposed to be. And that's the Casio chord. I don't quite know why somebody would want to learn how to play it wrong. Why you would press these 4 keys down and play the chord wrong, because as soon as you leave the Casio and you go to a regular piano, you can't play your chords that way. So I suggest learning the chords the correct way. Okay, and then the final, I'm going to hold down this key to get back into Casio chords. The final option is what's called full range. With full range, I can play a chord anywhere on the keyboard and the accompaniment will follow. And for the most part that works for anybody that's played piano before. But when playing this under rhythm mode, sometimes if you want to play your chords down here, this is just too low. So if we go back to, now that was the full range, if I go back to the fingered 1, now you won't get that piano sound down here because all that's going to do is play the accompaniment. So all you're going to hear is the lead and the chords. And to make that a little more obvious, what I'm going to do is use this option here. It's called OneTouch preset. And what it does is, by holding down E and pressing F, it's going to give me the best tone selection for this particular, or at least a suggested tone selection for this particular rhythm. And in this case it picked out a violin. Now, if I didn't want the violin, I could pick something else. And let's say I pick a tenor sax. Now, if I play the tenor sax down here, that's out of the tenor sax range. So if I'm playing a full keyboard and I'm trying to chord with the tenor sax, of course it sounds like crap. So if I'm on full keyboard range, and that means the tenor sax is played across the entire range. So when I try to do the accompaniment with this, it doesn't sound good at all. So what I want to do is take that sax out of the accompaniment. That's, I got to indicate the chord somehow, but I don't want the sax to do it. So let's go back to our chord button and go from full range back to the fingered 1. Now on auto accompaniment, when we get started, the sax won't be down there. I'm just playing the chord that indicates what rhythm to play. And also, while playing that, I can actually free up my left hand by playing the chord and then letting it go. And I can use the pitch bender because my hands are freed up. So that's some of the options for playing the auto accompaniment. I've got a rhythm selected here that's got backing chords in it so you can hear what's going on. So the first thing we need to do is first I'll introduce you to these new buttons that we haven't covered, and one is the rhythm buttons. That's these 6 buttons here, which are pop, jazz, Latin, world, rhythm, and piano rhythms, and user rhythms. Also written on top of the buttons is A, B, C, D, E, F, which corresponds to the display, and I'll show you the display. I'll give you a close-up of the display later and see how we're working this. Next, below this is the tempo buttons, which is up, down, and also underneath here you see another F+, and please don't skip video number 1 because it explains the navigation of how these things work, and starting on number 2 you're going to be lost. So underneath the tempo there is a F+, and anytime you see an F+, it means you can hold down this function key, and while holding down the function key press another key and you get a different kind of response to these buttons. So let's start with I've got a 0-24 straight 8-beat rhythm selected. We'll get that going. Now this button here turns on and off the accompaniment. It's turned off now. So if I play a chord, all you hear is the drum beat. If I turn this on, now you hear the full band. This is all the backing parts plus the drums. So you can play this. You can play this accompaniment 2 ways. You can play it with just the drums running, or the other choice is to play it with all the accompaniment parts. So I'm going to use all the accompaniment parts today by turning this on so you can hear how these chords work. So there was a C minor, so as I play these chords, you'll be able to hear the chord changes. So let's start with the tempo. By pressing the up button, you can increase it one at a time, or you can hold it down to go faster, and or you can use the data dial and really get the rhythm tuned in there fast. So you can use these to make fine adjustments going up or down in the beat, or you can use the data wheel to go very fast to get where you want to go. So let's settle on a 100 tempo. And that is the tempo button. Now underneath there we have this function button. So let's see how that works. If I hold down the function button and keep pressing down on the function button, I don't release it, and I tap, I can tap in the beat I want. So if you already got the beat in your head, you can actually just tap in the beat and get it that way. So the tempo's got multiple ways of setting a tempo. You can set them with the up-down arrows, one at a time. You can hold it down and get a faster response to how fast it goes up and down. Or you can use the data wheel, which you can really go right to where you want to go in a split second. So I'm back to the 100 tempo. Okay, here we are focused in on the display, and I'm going to use the auto accompaniment. You can see the little box there in the bottom left, on, off. So you get the auto accompaniment. If this is off, all you get is the drum beat. And if I hold down that button, the display changes to chords. And it is written over the top of that. It says chords. So over the top of it says chords and auto accompaniment on off. So if you hold the button down until the display changes, you just keep the button held down until it says chords, and then you can use the yes, no, minus, plus, or the data wheel to select which fingering. So today we used fingered 1, and that is where you can play one note and still get a major chord, or you can play abbreviated chords and get a minor by playing 2 notes. And then we skip 2 and 3 because I don't even understand what's going on there. And then we got Casio Chord, option number 4, and that is where we played one key right to the next. So you had those 4 keys that could make up major and minor and major 7th, minor 7th chords. You got them. And then the last option is number 5, and that's the full range. And full range is basically where we're going to be at, but I also showed you an example of how the full range doesn't work with some accompaniment. That one we did with the big band and the trombone doesn't work very well as a full range. And then to get out of chords, you can press chords again, or the exit on the navigation buttons. And then we also held down the OneTouch preset by holding down E and pressing F on the rhythm buttons. We got the, you can see it automatically set it up, the trombone. Let me show you how that works with another. I'm going to notice we're on B001 because I'm on my, and I'm going to go to pop dance, and that's A. You can see the rhythm changes to A. And again, we need to use the, you've got to remember to make sure the parentheses is in the right place with the navigation arrows. And the navigation arrows are strong around the rhythm, and that's what you're seeing. And that's what we're changing, is the rhythm, not the tones. So I've switched to an A, which is a straight 8-beat. I'm going to use the tempo. There's the tempo on the display. I can go increments up and down, or I can hold the function key down and tap the tempo. Or I can use the data dial to instantly go faster and just scroll into wherever I want. So there you can see what we were doing before with the buttons on the display. Now the tempo automatically goes away after a few seconds, or you can hit exit and get rid of it right away. Exit buttons or the navigation buttons. So here we are with the bass and the trombone. But that was left over. Now let's do the one set preset where we're holding down the E and pressing F on the rhythm buttons. And now for this particular rhythm, which is called 026 or guitar beat, it's given us actually a layered violin. And if you remember our mixer, you can see channel 1 and 2 active, which means the layer is turned on. You can also see the layer box turned on. And that's the OneTouch preset. So let's pick out another rhythm here real quick. Use a piano rhythm, and I'll do the OneTouch resets, and we'll see what it comes up. Okay, under this piano rock ballad 001, it's come up with a tenor sax for us to play with it. And that's how the presets work. It's just kind of a quick way to get a tone set up that matches the rhythm. But as you do this, you're gonna want to select your own tone, and of course that can be done. Go to the navigation arrows, select tone, and we can select any tone we want. In this case, it's the drawbar organ. And that's rhythms and tones. So the rest of this is actually just setting up the rhythm section here. So we now have the rest of these buttons to become knowledgeable on. And what we have is on top, you'll see the printed rhythm. On the bottom is a dual function that we'll get to later, and that's plays and stops and parts for sequencing. So let's look at the labels over the top, which say intro, normal, variation, synchro ending, start stop, and the one we've already been using, accompaniment on off. And the display will display accompaniment on and off. So on a very basic part of applying the rhythm to our melody, you first have to make sure that the accompaniment is turned on. You have to pick your rhythm style, and then you have the start stop. As you notice, that it starts with just the drum, because I haven't played a chord yet. Until I play a chord, it doesn't know what to use. So as soon as I play my chord, now everything comes in. But along with that, we have some options. What you're hearing now was the normal, but there's also a variation beat, and there are fill-ins also. So, as you're playing, if you're playing in the normal mode, you can hit normal mode again and get that fill-in. Then next to the normal is the variation, which gives you a different kind of beat and a different kind of accompaniment. So you can switch back and forth between these. But a more professional way of switching between normal and the variation is to use the fill-in in between. So that's 2 button pushes, but it gives you a much nicer intro into the next one. This is how that's done. So I'm in my normal. So now I'm in my variation, and if I hit this again, I get the fill-in. You just heard the fill-in. But if I hit that and go back to the normal, I'll get my fill-in, which leads back to the other style. And that's how the fill-ins and variation works. You have within each category and within each rhythm, you select, there's actually two in there. You have a normal and variation, and you have two fill-ins, one fill-in for the normal, one fill-in for the variation. And you also have a intro and an ending. And what you're hearing is just a drum track during the intro. So that doesn't work out very well. So what they have now is this new button we haven't talked about. It's called Synchro Ending, this one here. It's called Synchro Ending. So what you do is you set this up ahead of time. You pick your rhythm and your tempo. You hit this sync. You hit intro, and now it's sitting there waiting for you to play the first chord. And when I play the first chord, it's important to play the chord that you want your intro to be in. So if you want a major C, start off with a major C. If you want a minor or a minor seventh, start off with a minor seventh. So I'm going to start my intro off with a minor seventh. Okay, now it's gone into the normal. And there's the variation. Now, the next one is the synchro ending. I can end this song. So I want to end this song on the same chord that I started it. So I'm going to go to the C minor and I hit the synchro ending. And I get this automatic ending to it. So if I wanted to do the complete part, I'll go through the whole thing. I'll go from sync start to an intro, to the normal, to the variation, to the synchro ending. So here we go. Sync ending, intro, play my first chord, and that's the very basics of using accompaniment with the tones you selected. Very basic. We can fine-tune this much farther, and that's what we're going to do in the next video. We're going to raise, we're going to add splits, we're going to add layers, we're going to adjust the volumes of the splits and layers, and we're going to save it in a registration bank. So in the next video we're going to be talking about banks too for saving, because as soon as you change the volumes, as soon as you go to a different rhythm or do something else, it's not saved. So we're going to be needing to save those to do these little fine tunings. Now there's one extra little part here for audible accompaniment. When you pick a category, let's pick a jazz European category, And we're going to use a slow big band, which is 001. If I hold down, there's, again, underneath here it says OneTouch preset, and you'll see it goes from E to F. So if I hold down E and press F, it's automatically going to set the Casio up with the tones, with a tone that matches this style. So it gives you a quick way into. It set me up with a trombone here, as far as. So when I go into my rhythm, and what you're hearing is a trombone across the entire keyboard. Well, trombone doesn't work too well out of its own range. So I'm going to go back to where we started in this video by pressing and holding down this chord's accompaniment. And I'm going to take it off of full range and back to fingered. Now why would I do that? So now, with auto accompaniment on, I'm going to bring the tempo up on this a little bit. You don't hear that trombone because it's split down into this Casio Chord 1. Where if I turn it back to full keyboard, you're going to get that real low trombone down there when you're playing chords. Not very pleasant. So that's one reason you would not use full keyboard. So let's go from full keyboard range back to Casio, fingered number 1. So now I'm triggering the chords, but you don't hear the trombone, except the trombone's only in the right hand after the split. And let's do a synchro ending. So there's the difference between the Casio 1 and the full fingered, or I mean, sorry, Casio 1 and a full keyboard of accompaniment. So if you're in the piano mode, you'll probably want to go with full keyboard. So I hope everybody's understanding how the accompaniment works here. You got some tricky things to understand in this Casio Chord full keyboard and Casio 1 fingering.